Stop scrolling. You've seen the headlines. Ukraine just torched Russia's gunpowder plant. Putin has no explosives left. Big fire, mushroom cloud, people cheering. But here's the problem. Most channels are telling you a story that isn't entirely true. And I'm not saying Ukraine didn't hit something important. They did. But the narrative has been stretched, exaggerated, and in some cases, completely wrong. Because here's the question nobody is asking. Was the Tambov plant really Russia's only gunpowder plant? And if it wasn't, why are so many channels telling you it was? This is war conflict, and today we're doing something different. We're fact-checking the hype. We're looking at satellite imagery, and we're telling you what actually happened and what didn't. 3 parts. First, what actually got hit and when. Second, the myth of Russia's only gunpowder plant and the truth about Russia's production network. Third, what the satellite images actually show and why the damage matters, even if it's not what you heard. Let's start with the facts. Here's what we know for certain. On the night of June 11, 2025, Ukrainian strike drones targeted the Kotovsk gunpowder plant in Russia's Tambov region. The plant is located approximately 360 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Local residents reported hearing around 15 explosions. The governor of the Tambov region, Yevgeny Pervyshov, confirmed that a massive UAV attack by the Ukrainian regime on Kotovsk was repelled. He said a fire broke out after one of the downed drones crashed onto the factory premises. But here's the critical detail that most channels are ignoring. This was not the first attack on this plant. The Kotovsk plant was previously targeted in May 2025, in July 2024, and in November 2023. In fact, Ukrainian defense sources confirmed a drone strike on the facility in July 2024. So when you see headlines screaming, Ukraine just torched Russia's gunpowder plant, ask yourself, which time? Because this plant has been hit multiple times, and it's still standing. Now let's talk about what this plant actually produces. The Kotovsk powder plant is part of the Russian state-owned defense conglomerate Rostec. It manufactures over 200 types of products, including pyroxylin-based gunpowders used in small arms, hand grenades, grenade launcher rounds, and artillery and mortar munitions. It is a significant facility. It is strategically important, and according to Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, without Kotovsk, neither Grad nor Smerch can fire. But here's what most channels are not telling you. It is not the only one, and that's where the myth begins. Because the idea that Russia has only one gunpowder plant is not just inaccurate, it's propaganda. And once you understand Russia's actual production network, you'll realize why this strike, while significant, is not the knockout blow it's being sold as. Let me be clear about something. Russia has multiple gunpowder and explosives production facilities, and they are spread across the country, specifically because Russia knows that centralized production is vulnerable. Here's what we know from open source intelligence. The Kotovsk plant in the Tambov region. This is the plant that was hit. It is one of Russia's largest producers of nitrocellulose-based smokeless powders. It produces pyroxylin powders for small arms and artillery, and is a critical supplier for Russian rocket artillery systems like Grad and Smerch. The Elastic plant in the Ryazan region. On June 3rd and 4th, 2026, Ukrainian forces struck this gunpowder plant, a branch of Geftest MLLC. The Ukrainian General Staff confirmed that a fire broke out there, covering an area of more than 400 square meters. The Bryansk chemical plant. This facility produces gunpowder, explosives, and rocket fuel components used in ammunition and missiles. In October 2025, Ukraine hit this plant with UK-made Storm Shadow missiles. The Novinomysk nitrogen plant in the Stavropol region. On July 25, 2025, Ukrainian drones struck this facility. It produces chemical components for explosives, including nitric acid and ammonium nitrate, and is a key supplier for the manufacturing of artillery shells, aerial bombs, and multiple launch rocket systems. The Azot chemical plant in the Tula region. On June 8, 2026, a drone strike hit this facility. It produces components used to manufacture explosives for artillery shells, supplying products to the Sverdlov plant, where explosives including octogen and hexogen are made. And the Michurinsk Progress plant, also in the Tambov region. This facility produces components for precision-guided weapons. A fire was confirmed at a warehouse covering more than 200 square meters. Now, let me put this in perspective. Russia has at least 6 major facilities that produce gunpowder, explosives, or propellant components. The Kotovsk plant is not the only one. It is not even the only one in the Tambov region. The Michurinsk Progress plant is right there. So where did the only gunpowder plant narrative come from? I have been covering this war for over 2 years on this channel, and I will be honest with you. When I first started researching this video, I had the same reaction you might have. I saw the headlines. I saw the fire footage. I thought, wow, Ukraine just dealt a massive blow. But then I started digging, and I found multiple sources confirming that Russia has multiple plants. The Ryazan plant was hit just days earlier. The Bryansk plant was hit in October. The Novinomysk plant was hit in July. And I realized something. The hype channels are telling you what you want to hear. They're giving you the victory narrative without the context. Because Ukraine destroyed Russia's only gunpowder plant is a better headline than Ukraine damaged one of Russia's several gunpowder plants. One is a knockout punch. The other is a significant blow, but not a decisive one. And here's the thing. I want Ukraine to win. I'm not neutral on this war. But I will not lie to you. I will not exaggerate. Because when you hype every strike as the end of Russia's military, you lose credibility. And when you lose credibility, people stop listening. I'm not going to do that to you. So let's look at the satellite evidence and see what actually happened. This is where the evidence gets interesting. Satellite images published by the Telegram channel Excelenova Plus show the aftermath of one of the strikes on the Kotovsk plant, specifically from the July 2025 attack. The images show that at least one building was destroyed. The damage is visible. The facility is also undergoing expansion, with new production buildings under construction. But here's the critical caveat that most channels are ignoring. It remains unclear whether the latest strike has affected the plant's overall operations or production volumes. That's not my opinion. That's what the satellite analysis concluded. Now let's look at the June 2025 strike. The governor confirmed a fire. Residents heard 15 explosions. But again, there is no public assessment of whether production was halted or significantly reduced. And here's what most channels won't tell you. The plant has been hit multiple times before. In November 2023, in January 2024, in July 2024, and each time the plant eventually resumed operations. That's not to say the strikes are ineffective. They are costly to repair, they disrupt production, they force Russia to invest in reconstruction instead of new production. But they are not the total destruction that some channels claim. Now let's look at the broader picture. So if Kotovsk isn't Russia's only plant, and if it has survived multiple strikes, does this attack actually matter? Yes, and here's why. The cumulative effect is the real story. When you combine the Kotovsk strike with the Ryazan plant strike, the Azot chemical plant strike, the Novinomysk strike, and the Bryansk chemical plant strike, you start to see a pattern. Ukraine is not targeting a single plant. Ukraine is targeting a system. And according to Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, the Kotovsk plant is one of the oldest and most strategically important facilities in Russia's defense industry. Dozens of Russian defense firms use its materials. By degrading multiple nodes in Russia's production network, Ukraine is creating a cumulative shortage. Not one knockout blow, 1,000 cuts. Here's what that means. If the Kotovsky plant reduces its output by 30%, and the Ryazan plant reduces by 30%, and the Novinomysk plant reduces by 20%, you start seeing a serious shortage. But that's not what the hype channels are telling you. They're telling you Russia is completely out of gunpowder. That's not true. Not yet. Let me call out some specific claims that have been circulating. Claim: Ukraine destroyed Russia's only gunpowder plant. Fact: Russia has multiple gunpowder and explosives plants, including Kotovsk, Ryazan, Bryansk, Novinomysk, Azot, and Michurinsk. This claim is false. Claim: Russia has no explosive supply left. Fact: Russia still has production capacity at other plants. The Kotovsk strike was significant but not total. This claim is an exaggeration. Claim: satellite images prove total destruction. Fact: satellite images show one building destroyed at Kotovsk. The rest of the facility appears intact. It is unclear whether production is stopped. This claim is not supported by the evidence. Claim: without Kotovsky, no Grad or Smerch can fire. Fact: this is a quote from a Ukrainian official emphasizing the plant's importance. It is a strategic point, not a literal statement that Grad or Smerch cannot fire at all. Now let me be clear about something. I am not saying the Kotovsk strike was insignificant. It was not. It was a strategically important strike against a critical node in Russia's defense industrial base. It will cost Russia money. It will disrupt production. It will force Russia to divert resources to repair. But it is not the knockout punch it's being sold as. And that matters. Because when you believe every strike is the final blow, you stop paying attention to the real story, which is a long, grinding campaign of attrition. So where does this go? Short term, days to weeks. Russia will repair the damage at Kotovsk. They will do it quickly. They will do it expensively. But they have done it before. This is the third or fourth time this plant has been hit. Medium term, months. The cumulative effect of multiple strikes across multiple plants will start to show. Not a collapse, a slow degradation of Russia's production capacity. That is the real story. Long term, 1 year. The question is not whether one plant was destroyed. The question is whether Ukraine can sustain this campaign of targeting Russia's defense industrial base. Multiple sources confirm that this is a systematic effort. If Ukraine can maintain this pressure, the cumulative effect will be real. Here is how you help this channel. First, share this video with someone who has been falling for the hype headlines. They need to see the real evidence. Second, comment below. Do you think the hype channels are helping or hurting the cause by exaggerating these strikes? I read every comment. Third, subscribe to War Conflict if you have not already. We do not hype, we do not lie. We give you the evidence. This is War Conflict. Ukraine hit Kotovsk. It was significant. But it was not the knockout punch some channels are claiming. The real story is the system. Multiple plants. Cumulative damage. A war of attrition fought with drones and satellite imagery. This war is not over, and neither is our coverage. See you in the next one.